today's RBA decision to keep the cash rate on hold. It's on hold at 3.6%. What's it all mean, particularly for your mortgage if you've got one? Host of Business Now, Ross Greenwood, joins me. 3 rate cuts this year, which is terrific. Not today, though. How's the market reacted? And now, obviously, speculation's shifting to Melbourne Cup Day. Give us your read, Ross.
Yeah, it won't happen, Peter. And the reason for it is the Reserve Bank, unless it sees something in the inflation numbers that come out in late October, effectively are giving notice to the market, giving notice to the community that you can probably sort of water down the expectation of future rate cuts. Because the economy, frankly, and this is not bad news, this is good news, is starting to grow. There's signs that the 3 rate cuts already this year have seen consumer sort of confidence and consumer spending start to pick up. That started to boost the economy just that little bit. But the real concern for the Reserve Bank is that maybe as a result of that, that they really haven't sort of slain the inflation dragon. And so therefore, as a result, it seems to me they're just being a little sort of wary about sort of being too gung-ho about sort of telling people they're going to cut interest rates, because the likelihood is if there are rate cuts to be coming, they're more likely now to be next year, unless really this inflation number in late October comes out as a big surprise as compared with what most expect it to be.
I've got to get your take on that announcement by the government yesterday of a reduction in the deficit. We are still running a deficit budget, so we're spending more per annum than we're earning in terms of revenue as a country. But, you know, they go out there, it was 27.9, 28%, $28 billion, in deficit was the forecast. They brought it down to around 10. Most in the media last night ran that as the big headline, but that was a pea and thimble trick, because over here, if you lift that thimble up, the real story was the fact that we are spending at the highest level in about 40 years as a percentage of GDP, because the government is addicted, hopelessly addicted to spending. Now, that's where we need to educate Australians. That is what they need to understand, because that is the reason why the budget is simply not sustainable. So why aren't we talking about that enough, Ross?
Well, it's pretty simple, and that is if the government is spending at a faster rate than what the economy is growing, then ultimately it can't get back into surplus. Now, the strange thing is that if the government had had more discipline, or had been able to get even further savings, or had not spent literally billions upon billions of dollars and committed that, the government would most likely be having a third surplus. It would have been announcing yesterday. And that would have been, to be honest, a pretty good tribute to a Labor government and to a Labor treasurer. But they couldn't do that simply because of the spending that you're talking about. Then the second factor is the economy is not growing. So therefore, the government is really the responsibility for not only so many people having jobs, more than 50% of jobs created in the past couple of years have come from government programs. So, but people are now beholden to the government. And it's strangely enough, the reason why they improve the budget is because all those people are employed by the government or its programs, and so therefore paid tax back. So this is an issue, but you can't improve your productivity. You can't improve your economic growth if you have a lot of people working in non-productive jobs. You've got to get your farming industry. You've got to get your mining industry. You can't have, as we had today, Alcoa closing down an alumina refinery in Kwinana for the cost of another couple of hundred jobs, which was the key to basically adding value to our minerals, to bauxite, to create alumina and then aluminium. You can't have those things. You can't have almost every foundry on the east coast of Australia and steelworks and aluminium works in government, under government subsidy. That's not how you get economic growth. You've got to have the country growing to be able to afford the spending that the government is committed to. And that's the big issue for Australia right now.
And just quickly there, Ross, I mean, the problem there is those industries you mentioned the farmers about to be hit with the 2035 targets. You mentioned mining, the same. You mentioned the close of Kwinana, and this puts all the other smelters, as you know, over on the east coast on death watch. We're closing down coal. We're not doing enough in terms of gas. This is how we pay our way in the world. And so if all we've got left is a pump-primed economy of people on the government teat and migration, none of this adds up.
No, because ultimately at some stage you've got to pay for it. You've got to make something in the world. And it's not enough to say, well, our future is green this or green this, when green hydrogen plans have literally evaporated. So they're not the future. When, as you've described, sort of if you try and roll out the renewables, and now you've got a backlash from even green groups lobbying against that. And the one thing that was the hallmark of Australia's economy over so many decades was cheap energy. And we don't have that anymore. So we've got some of the highest taxes in the world, corporate taxes. We've got energy prices that are now 3 times higher than what they are in the United States. And now we don't have economic growth because a lot of the money that otherwise should be invested here has gone to America. And this is no way in which the country long term is going to get the growing economy that will match the growing spending of the government. And yes, they've done pretty well in the past little while to have a lot of people employed, and have them on jobs that are largely going to be care type of arrangements. But the reality is, what is the future that is going to get Australia to grow faster? And there is no narrative right now as to what that future is. And that fundamentally is a big problem for Australia's economy and for your kids and your grandkids into the future.
Well, on that very cheery note, Ross, I think I'll leave it there and go to a break. Not much hope out there, long-term, even medium-term economics, is there?